overboard. Man overboard, man overboard.
Man overboard! Man overboard! Man overboard!
For the man overboard, it's cruel and it's quick. Shock, disorientation, numbing pain, hypothermia, unconsciousness, and death.
Midwinter, when we have rain and then freezing and ice, and you really do have to be extremely cautious to make sure that you stay safe and that your coworkers stay safe.
Among commercial fishermen, 1 in 4 men overboard end up fatalities.
These people don't have the ability to just call 911 and have them there in 6 to 8 minutes.
And no matter what the conditions or water temperature, timing and training are crucial in saving lives. In this program, we'll survey some of the very different locations and conditions where a man can go overboard. We'll look at various procedures for rescue. We'll cite precautions for prevention of accidents. And we'll underscore the importance of drills, practice, and thorough training. They are 2 words that throw fear into the heart of every seafarer: man overboard. Whether it's at a dockside unloading cargo or in the middle of 40-foot seas in the middle of the night, the man overboard and his shipmates must battle both the cold and the clock.
Columbia River Bar is a well-known commodity. It's the graveyard of the Pacific. That's the nickname, and it's received that nickname for good reason. A lot of people have lost their lives on this bar.
Over 2,000 vessels and 700 seafarers have been lost on the Columbia River Bar, the brutal border between Oregon and Washington in the U.S. Pacific Northwest. The interaction of powerful river flow and savage Pacific tides make the graveyard of the Pacific a mariner's nightmare and a rescue team's challenge.
The Coast Guard and the bar pilots here in Astoria are working together to do an exercise in the eventuality if we ever have a bar pilot go overboard as they're moving from their bar pilot boat to a commercial carrier that they're going to transit in.
Like an actual rescue, the drill requires communication and coordination. In this case, among the Columbia River Bar pilot boat, where the MOB occurs, and the U.S. Coast Guard stationed at the river mouth.
We're going to come from the air, we're going to come from the surface, and they'll work in concert with the bar pilots to save this person in the water.
Man overboard!
The emergency responders need to make 2 quick assessments: who's closest to the accident and can respond first, and what's the condition of the victim and his ability to assist in his own rescue.
Dummy went in the water. Pilot boat tried first method of rescue, which is a safety line off an A-frame to bring a conscious victim aboard. And when I say conscious, in order to do that, the guy in the water has to be able to help. If you can't help, then you can't put a harness around yourself. Phase 2 is the stern ramp or stern basket to get an unconscious person on board. Pilot boat did that successfully, which was nice to see.
Okay, we got one other person in the water we gotta get.
A successful drill is a series of what-if scenarios. You change the situation, the circumstances. You test the readiness of your resources and your people. What if your victim is too far from the pilot boat or the transit vessel? What if the conditions are too rough, too dangerous? The carrier or transit vessel has several responsibilities in case of an MOB. Throw life-saving equipment immediately, ideally with a self-guiding light. Station a lookout to track the MOB. And adjust the rudder to keep the ship's propeller away from the MOB. Now, the Coast Guard comes into the picture, bringing more resources to bear. A 47-foot surf rescue boat and an HH-60 Jayhawk helicopter with a crew of 4, including a safety swimmer.
You're not going to have a lot of time. That person in the water is not going to have a lot of time. So it's important that we are very efficient in what we do, and we're going to come as fast as we can.
By the conclusion of the exercise, the pilots and the Coast Guard have worked 4 different scenarios. Still, their work isn't finished. The crucial conclusion of the drill is assessment and critique, with the goal of continuous improvement.
There were some things that it appeared from my side could have happened faster. Some communications could have been better. That's why we do drills. Every time you do a drill, you learn something.
What we learned from this exercise: speed of response counts every minute. Your closeness to the incident counts. The pilot boat is closer than the Coast Guard and is the logical first responder. And coordination counts. Communication between all parties the minute the alarm sounds. Effective exercises use multiple what-if scenarios and thorough debriefings for continuous improvement. MOB best practices. Release a life buoy and sound the MOB alarm. Inform the master and engine room immediately. Swing the stern away from the victim. Post extra lookouts and plot the ship's position. Among the challenges to training for a man overboard in MOB is the huge variety of ways we get ourselves into the water and the shore or ship locations we start out from. Big vessels, small vessels, freeboards high and low, and each with its own gear and operating environment.
Port, starboard. Okay, port. Go. Let's go.
At the IDIS Training Center in the Philippines, most seafarers are preparing to work on large vessels. And although they carry sophisticated lifeboats, rafts, and safety gear, these giants of the ocean also present special challenges when a man goes overboard. Bigger ships present bigger challenges, specifically 3 things. First, maintaining visual contact with the MOB. Second, stopping or turning this huge lumbering vessel around in order to effect a rescue. And third, picking up or retrieving a tiny MOB from this huge floating platform.
If you see somebody go overboard, you get an eye on them, you start throwing flotation over to mark them immediately and pass word to the pilot house.
Ideally, an MOB has effective flotation, which provides buoyancy and a lifeline. Bright-colored flotation devices also provide more visual contact for the rescue team. And a whistle, light, and electronic locator provide more contact.
You want to make yourself known. You want to make yourself bigger and brighter and different than the surroundings so that you can be spotted, they can get a fix on you, and they can hold a visual of you.
Experienced seafarers say they'll often throw multiple life rings or flotation devices overboard if only to better mark the spot. Remember, the tiny MOB is a speck in the ocean, especially from 25 meters up on a huge container vessel. Hitting the MOB button attached to the ship's global positioning system can help better fix the spot. Then the issue is turning the vessel around. Large vessels require great distances to stop and to turn, so seafarers have developed a couple of standard turning maneuvers designed to bring the vessel back into the area of the MOB. The Anderson turn is designed to bring the vessel back to a point it previously passed through. It's a slow circle, which should bring the ship back to the MOB. It's crucial that the vessel be stopped with the person well forward of the dangerous propellers. Anderson turns are typically used in daylight or when the MOB is clearly visible. For cases of reduced visibility, or in darkness, masters can use the Williamson turn, which brings the vessel back to its original course, but in the opposite direction, in order to retrace course and backtrack toward the MOB. Recovery and retrieval from a big vessel will require cooperation and training from the MOB, Cranes, winches, blocks, and tackles can all be used to hoist the victim on board, but they will require a secure hookup and a dangerous and intimidating hoist up the side.
It's a little nerve-wracking when you've just fallen off of something and now you're 150 feet in the air trusting everybody knows what they're doing.
United States, we have man overboard, man overboard, man overboard.
A useful alternative for recovery is the so-called fast boat, a highly maneuverable small craft that can be quickly launched from a larger vessel and effect a rescue. Training schools like IDIS regularly include fast boat handling and recovery as part of their standard training. Fast rescue boat teams should have proper equipment before launching. Ideally, this includes waterproof handheld radios, a first aid kit, searchlights for rescue at night, heaving lines, and boat hooks. Fast rescue boat crews may simply throw a lifeline and sling to a conscious victim, or in the case of an unconscious victim, deploy a safety swimmer and a special apparatus known as a rescue cage or a Jason's cradle, designed to secure and hoist an injured or unconscious victim safely.
Okay, pull him up. Pull.
MOB best practices for effecting a rescue from big vessels. Make the MOB as visible as you can. They are a speck in the ocean. Sound the MOB alarm for positioning if you have one, and effect the proper turn to bring you back to your previous course. Then recover the victim using a winch or fast boat or boat. Make sure your rescue boat has the proper equipment aboard.
Slipping! Man overboard! Man overboard! Help! Help!
So, what do you do when suddenly, unexpectedly, somebody's in the water? It's a terrible irony of MOB and drowning accidents in general that so many fatalities occur not just on the high seas or in the middle of the ocean, but off of docksides and small boats. You're so close, but so far.
One of the things that we have to take into consideration is the remoteness of a lot of our farms. So it is crucial that we have the resources available and the knowledge of how to use them in order to keep each other safe.
On a beautiful spring day among the fish farms of British Columbia, it hardly seems like a hazardous work environment.
You can't avoid the probability, while it's low, of falling in the water in this type of work environment. The probability is low, the consequence is high.
But in fact, fish farming can be very hazardous work, especially if you end up in the water. Fish farms tend to be in remote locations, far from emergency services. There are few life-saving resources compared to other marine environments. The weather can be wild and unpredictable, and often fish farmers in remote locations are unable to assist each other quickly.
We are mammals. Cold water will kill us. Most people that die in cold water, or even water below 98.6, did not die of hypothermia. They died from drowning because of the response of our bodies to cold water.
Lisa Whitley is a nationally known expert and instructor in marine safety, personal survival, and common sense on the water. Her first principle: know your equipment and your working environment. Personal protection begins with personal flotation, a life vest properly fitted and tightly fastened. Wear proper footwear to assure good traction and protection, and clothing insulated against bad weather.
You don't want to be spending 5 minutes getting a life ring untangled from a pen while somebody's drifting away.
Familiarize yourself with your work environment, its potential hazards, and especially the safety and life-saving equipment that's available. Make sure it's accessible and in good working order.
Grab the life ring.
There's no substitute for preparation, training, and practice to help you respond effectively to an MOB emergency. Follow 3 basic steps. First, sound the alarm and communicate. This means a verbal alarm to your coworkers and, if necessary, radio communication for additional help, especially if you're the MOB and alone.
Our work alone procedure involves having a radio with you at all times when you're working alone. So if you do fall in, you have that ability to call someone to come to your rescue.
After sounding the alarm and communicating the emergency, deploy your rescue equipment. The most common rescue device is a life ring. It's designed to supply flotation and bring the MOB back to the rescuers.
That is not intended to lift people back on the vessel. That's intended to mark the location that they fell over the vessel, no matter the size, and then they hold on to it to be brought to the side, to be brought back into the vessel.
Other rescue equipment includes life slings and rescue bags with heaving lines. For MOBs that are close to the boat or dock, a boat hook can provide a point of contact. Step 3 is to effect the rescue and evaluate the condition of the MOB. Whenever possible, use 2 or more people to pull the waterlogged MOB out of the water.
When you're pulling someone back to a boat, in this case the fellow was in behind the boat, don't pull them up to the stern of the boat, pull them along the side of the boat.
It's critical during an MOB rescue that you don't compound the danger, either to the MOB or yourself.
You do not want to enter the water to do a rescue unless you're protected yourself, because the #1 rule to all rescue is you must protect yourself first. You can't help people if you're broken.
When you've got the MOB out of the water, evaluate his condition and apply first aid treatment if necessary. This may include treatment for shock. The rescue team's work isn't done once they've pulled the victim out of the water. In fact, given the dangers of exposure and hypothermia, the life-saving may have just begun.
All right, get her up and over. There we go. All right, down easy.
Down.
There must be immediate assessment of the victim's condition, immediate attention to warming their body temperature, removing wet clothes, and wrapping the victim in warm blankets, and immediate action if there is no breathing or pulse. MOB best practices. You must determine quickly if the victim is conscious or unconscious, if there is breathing and heartbeat, the ABCs, airway, breathing, circulation. Call for medical advice if you can, and consider whether you need to administer CPR or, in the case of cardiac arrest, immediate defibrillation.
This can easily be hooked into the winch of the crane. All right, you guys can...
The goal of instructor Lisa Whitley's training is creating realistic situations and being prepared for the shock and the disorientation of a real-life emergency. It begins with preparation and constant attention to the what-ifs.
That's the way I like to teach all of this, is I don't want to cram anything down your throat. I don't expect you to memorize things. I expect to provoke you into thinking about the what-ifs. And that when you walk aboard that vessel, you're doing some what-ifs of the major things that could go wrong for you or your crew, so that you'll be better prepared when those things come up.
The key for handling the what-ifs is preparation. Know your available rescue equipment, where it is, and how to use it, including life slings, throw bags, rescue bags, and lifelines. Bring medical gear to the site, a first aid kit and an AED, a defibrillator for cases of cardiac arrest, and know instantly who and where to call for additional help. As we've seen in other exercises, this team is practicing quick assessment, crisp communications, and teamwork. They practice different scenarios. First, with a conscious victim who can respond and use a life sling, then with an unconscious victim who needs more help. Instructor Lisa Whitley has become one of the best in the business by making it real, complete with her own WOB, Woman Overboard, exercise to wake people up.
Some of these guys think that they'd be able to have no problem extracting, somebody from the water that was in, they would just reach over and pick them up, and they quickly realize that it's not that simple.
MOB, or WOB, Woman Overboard, as we've just seen, combines dangerous situations with practical issues, like can you pull a soaking wet person that weighs more than you out of the water? That's why, besides practice and preparation, the third P, prevention, may be the most crucial of all. Try to avoid going in the water in the first place. Consider these prevention best practices. All crew should wear a PFD, personal flotation device. And consider being tethered where there is danger of being swept overboard. Never be on deck alone. Have proper safety equipment at the ready, including throw bags with at least 90 feet of line, dye, smoke or light signalers, and other MOB equipment such as life slings, rescue baskets, and cradles. Avoid careless behavior such as urinating from the side of the vessel.
A lot of when people drill and train, it's not so much that they don't want to or don't think they should, or it's laziness, or it's lack of inspiration or ideas. And what we try to do at the school is give them the inspiration and the ideas and the reasons that it's so important for them to do this.
Doing a drill without talking about it, without learning from it, it only accomplishes half of what you're trying to do. After you have a drill, if you get everybody in a room together, sit down and talk about the drill, let everybody weigh in with their observations, you might learn something that you didn't see.
And practice those what-ifs that can make the difference between a calm, professional response and a panicked reaction. Critique your practice sessions for lessons learned and continuous improvement.